I'm going to start the meeting of the Public Health and Safety Standing Committee of March 11th. Thank you for your notes. And
Oh, you're very welcome.
did we have any concerns with those?
Nope, looked good to me.
Looked good to me, so the minutes have been approved. Update from Chief Schrock.
Yeah, so, our deadline for the grant that, Mrs. Kern, excuse me, up in City Hall is putting together for us is approaching here in, I believe, approximately 4 days. We just got all of our write-ups and everything done, last week to get the submission.
Great.
And I did have my admin sergeant write up our stats going from, 21 to current. If anybody's interested in hearing, I can go over it. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it doesn't just involve drugs. It involves just our service volume and the increase throughout the years.
Give us a quick synopsis. In
Yeah,
other words, how much have we increased in the last 4 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So from, we'll start with drugs, 20 to 21. There was actually there was a dip by 34%, which is a good thing. 21 to 22, there was a 54% decrease from that year. 22 to 23, it was an 86% increase, and 23 to 24, we're now at a 357%.
What the hell? What, did you say 86?
86% increase from 22 to 23. And from 23 to 24, it could be a multitude of different things. Obviously, we're not seeing in the middle of the day actual, like, true problems like, your prostitution, robberies, middle of the day burglaries and stuff like that. It could very well just be because we've been hitting it a lot harder from 23 to 24 than we really ever have before.
And what were the numbers on 23 to 24?
23, 357% increase.
300
Into,
something.
yeah.
From
yes,
the year
sir.
before?
How much of that is just that we're doing a better job of tracking? I know.
Very much
Used to
so.
be,
That's kind of why I explained we're obviously people aren't, doing Barry Seal airplane drops in the middle of Red Lodge. It's not that type of issue. We just have very professional anglers in our office now compared to what we did have. Not saying that we were less capable back in the day. We just have more true assets in this type of work than we've ever had before. So, yes, sir.
Percentages versus number of cases, just to put it in perspective, do you have that statistic that?
Yes. I do, and I can get it,
Okay.
for sure. I don't have it on this document here.
If there was one case in 1 year and then 2 cases next year.
Yeah, it's a 100% increase. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
I can tell you that's not the case from 23 to 24.
As much as we'd like it to be.
Yeah. So, 23 to 24 domestic violence, and Danae did tweak some of these percentages. She went through it with a fine-tooth comb, so if my numbers are wrong, I will correct myself on our next meeting or send out an email and let everybody know. Domestic violence from 23 to 24, there was a 75% increase. Disturbance in general from 23 to 24, 18% increase. General theft, good news, down 39% from 23 to 24. Juvenile involved incident reports from 23 to 24, we're up 18%. And then juvenile involved calls for service, up 45%.
What, juvenile calls for, meaning that kids called in?
No, calls involving,
Juvenile.
persons under 18 years of age, yeah.
Okay. Now
And then there's obviously a whole book written in here.
Yeah.
We could certainly chat about that afterwards. I know you guys have a lot of stuff to,
The grant that's due in 4 days, what's that grant?
for another police officer,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's gonna pay half, I believe, is or what is that?
If
pay
it
for
goes,
If we get it.
a full-time officer.
So, FTO all the way around?
Yes, sir. So, Danae has more of the specifics on it. My only involvement is honestly just getting the numbers over to her, writing brief narratives on what we're looking for and why, and then she puts it in her own words, which are a lot better than mine. So, yeah.
very good. Did you, think about the police commission members? Is there anything that you can have, that you would like them to do for you or for the police department?
Yeah, I do have it written up on my computer, just what their roles and responsibilities, were when I first, moved into the position. And it's very simple. As far as their want to, you know, a lot of times they want to be more directly involved with background processes and stuff like that. Unfortunately, they just can't,
Yeah.
by state law and how the, police commission handbook is written.
Yeah, basically what I saw was that they did interviews and disciplinary actions, and that's about it.
So I know that we can appeal disciplinary actions to the police commission, and like if I were to discipline an officer, which they're fully within their rights to do so, is appeal that, the decision that I've made. They can also appeal, and Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, or people on the council, obviously, I believe, that they can appeal the decision to the city council, possibly, or it used to be that way, or these things change.
It's basically appeals.
Appeals, stuff like that. One of the things that they used to be, really interested in was receiving officer complaints. And that's very difficult, because along with an officer complaint comes with a lot of evidence, and if it's an ongoing investigative matter, everything that we have by state standards is evidence, and we just can't release evidence.
Is that in their purview anyway?
I'm sorry?
Is that in their realm of, responsibilities anyway?
No, the commission?
Yeah.
No. Internal affairs is, I'm in charge of that process. What I do is I assign somebody from admin to investigate the matter without,
Outside.
that does not have any bias or could not have any
Right.
bias. Obviously, I'll check on that before then. And if there is bias to where I cannot, confidently investigate the matter myself or have somebody from my office do it, it's referred to another agency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's somebody with no involvement.
So the police commission wouldn't get involved at all?
No, not with that process.
Okay. Well, that's all I was kind of looking for. The fire code ordinance.
You know, look, I got a question.
Sure.
Last time we met, you said that you didn't have a regular meeting time for this group.
Right, I
Police
did say
commission.
that, yeah.
And to me, even once a month, I mean, keeps them engaged.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a reason to go to something, but if you,
Yeah.
keeps them thinking, keeps you thinking,
Sure.
I don't know if you should, I mean, it's not my deal.
Yeah, if council would like to give a direction, I can do that. I think given that their purpose is just to interview candidates and validate, well, let me rephrase it, it's actually to validate paperwork on candidates when the packets are prepared. And so they may be 6 or 8 months that we don't have it, so, I would look for guidance about what you guys would like to cover in those meetings. Hey, we don't have any openings coming up, but when we do, it'll be just like last
Is there
time.
some state thing about what a police commission is?
Yeah,
It's really only about applicants.
it's about validating the eligibility of the applicants.
And I
That's
can,
it.
yeah, I can definitely see both sides of the fence. A lot of times they feel like their involvement is minimal, because when I do hand them a document,
You've already done all the work.
well, yeah, so the background investigator has already done all the work. Everything from A to Z, it starts with the applicant receives a conditional offer. They then fill out a 28-page background check, which
Jeez.
it's a lot. I mean, like, even for somebody that has always minded their P's and Q's,
There's something.
it's a very uncomfortable situation for somebody that has nothing to hide. So we go through that, and that is everything from social media to financials to, criminal background to we're calling friends, employers, landlords, stuff like that. And then, if that is passed, then they, move on to the, PT test, the state standard, MPAT, which is just, you know, the whole obstacle course and song and dance, a medical evaluation, and then, They are checked through the National Decertification Index, which means if somebody arrives here from Florida and says, I'd like to be a cop in Montana, we
Don't
do
hire
our,
them from Florida.
I'm sorry? Yeah, no, I get it. So what we do.
Okay, New York.
New York, Texas, anywhere. So
Decertification?
decertification index, meaning that if they were decertified as a police officer through any state in our country,
You would know.
I would know, yep. And then, obviously, they 14-week it. And one of the things, when I hand the commission these documents, their medical waiver, or their medical, exam is about yay long, and everything is redacted on my end, except for the doctor's notes on the bottom. So-and-so,
Pass,
I have, yeah, pass, I have no
Pass,
issues
fail.
with them completing the duties, you know what I mean?
because it's personal information.
Yeah, yep. There's a lot of stuff we can ask, and a lot of stuff the police commission can ask, myself included. Age, you gotta be 18 years or older. Marriage, the whole,
The usual.
the usual, yeah. I remember one time I had to stop an interview because we asked one of the board members asked an applicant if they were married, and we had to
Nope,
put,
no.
yeah. we-
No,
yeah.
sorry. Mm-mm.
Yeah, our
Nope,
questions are all, written out long before they even come in here and interview.
So the commission has a list of questions to ask?
Yes, and at that point, it's at their leisure. They can ask, obviously, within the realm of what you're allowed to ask. But, you know, visions, as a police officer, where do you see yourself? You know, it's kind of like a second interview.
Yeah, exactly.
But if they have made it that far to see a police commission deny somebody, there would have to be a real reason why. And it is
That
what
you
it
should
is.
have already found.
Yeah, yep. Or if the applicant just says something outlandish, you know.
I hate to say this, it kind of sounds like the commission's a waste of time.
That's why I was thinking about,
That's like saying an auditor is a waste of time if they never find anything, you still do it.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't even ask.
I could see it from both sides. But, as far, yeah, if there's a directive given to the mayor, if there's something where, the police commission, and the mayor would like to, meet with me once a month, I have absolutely no issue with that. Doesn't bother me in the least. I'll make time.
I think having a meeting just to have a meeting doesn't make any sense either.
Sure.
I mean, you know,
Yeah,
you
if
sit
I-
down and go, okay,
Yeah.
how you doing?
If I think of something where they can offset my tasks and we're within state law and everything like that, and they can help me out or help the city out, I'll certainly bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Well, at least you're thinking about it so that, you know.
Sure.
Okay.
oh, one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
The grant is for police officer. Is this in addition to the SRO?
Yes, it is for a full-time police officer, and I'm still working out the kinks with that. The school, I spoke with the superintendent, 3 weeks ago.
Well, you said last time that they were gonna do 50/50.
Correct, yeah, yeah.
But this one you're working on is, the grant is for another person, not the SRO.
Yeah, I'm still working that out. I would like it to, if I'm able
Maybe
to,
half
and
and
it,
half.
yes. If it's something where I don't have to go to a budget meeting and ask for 50% of another officer, and I can legally do it, obviously, I'm going to. Because like I said, that's number one for me is, school resource officer.
And you really need an investigator, so.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. Poor, Detective Mahoney, he picks up a lot of our slack.
Is that the only grant that's in,
I call him all the time. What's that?
is that the only grant that's in the works?
Currently, yes.
Okay. And then the school, of course, is doing their own thing to try to fund a SRO for 50% of the time.
Yes, yeah, and we had it out to where, after speaking with the superintendent, he was interested in doing 20 hours per week to, I guess, just a test study to see how it works. I have no doubt that it will be well received,
I agree.
no doubt. But I also understand from their side, if they want to test it out, that's totally fine. 20 hours a week, that's great. That means I get an additional guy on the street or gal on the street 20 hours a week, totally.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
it's a win-win.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a win.
Yep.
Fire code ordinance, I think that we're gonna be looking at that again tonight. International Fire Code.
I think it's actually on for discussion, which means it'll be next time for action. I was able to follow up with, the the fire chief and Tim on why is it we have 2021 in language, when the 2024 language is out, and the answer is, we're behind, this 2021 is the latest thing the state has adopted, and so that's what we have.
I believe when he was here, he said the same thing,
Yeah.
that it just runs behind. So, 4 years or 3
Do you
years.
guys have anything else you want me to do, or you
No.
comfortable introducing that tonight?
I don't know, yep, sure, okay.
Yeah, I didn't, I think Tim and Tom had explained it.
Really well, really well. Okay, the snow ordinance. I did go on Facebook, on the Buzz, and I got 75 responses
Mhm.
to asking whether or not, how they feel about having everybody clear their sidewalks,
Sure.
or just do the school routes type of thing. And overall, there were 2 that wanted the whole town cleaned of sidewalks.
275?
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, actually, they were very respectful. There was only one that was kind of, on the edge. And, the thing they complained about most were the big giant piles on the corners
Well,
that you can't see. I told them that, that we have the CIP that is looking for a dump truck so that they can remove those giant piles of snow, because it is hard to see around them. You have to put your car out almost in the intersection.
Just as long as you're stopping before that stop sign. Seriously, even without snow, cars
Yeah.
parked legally, it's difficult to look left and right when you're on an east street and you wanna turn south on Broadway. No snow, middle of summer, a lot of cars parked, but everybody's parked legally, it's difficult you gotta kinda creep out, but
Yeah.
just stop before that stop sign, obviously for crosswalk pedestrians and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw one this morning where the car was actually parked almost in the other street, it was sticking
yeah.
out so far.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine that they were trying to avoid piles of
Sure.
snow, and get one more car in. So, yeah, so that was like the biggest thing is the piles of snow.
Sure.
Of course, everybody pointed out that there aren't sidewalks everywhere. So clearing a sidewalk and then having, dirt, it didn't make a lot of sense. Have you guys had any input?
no. I'm with Doug, let's just get on with this snow thing. We live in a town, everyone gets snow shovels for Christmas, let's just do it.
My snow broom was the best.
Well, when you say do it, because what I heard Councilmember Conley say was, no need to do anything additional beyond,
What we currently have.
is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, let's
Done?
vote on it.
Well, you guys, if this board doesn't think there's a need to discuss it and you bring it up with council, just leave it, or if you do want to, that's the question is, do you want to vote on it? Do you think there's a change needed?
Sounds like no, right?
I think that it sounded like no for all the sidewalks in town. We still have a little concern on the school routes. And the question is, then you're gonna have to determine where the school routes are.
When you say we, meaning that was 1 or 2 comments, or that's a thing that you've identified, or this group
The
has talked
school
about?
routes. I did receive an email from someone who was on the city council previously where they were discussing the safe routes to school, and said that one didn't go anywhere either years ago. And I think I remember that the city council did address safe routes to school in the past. And here we are again, Jody had brought up safe routes to school, but there are some of those routes that don't even have sidewalks.
So, in line with Councilmember Rood, my thinking is, if this group feels our recommendation is no change, we'll direct the mayor to continue to make efforts to improve clearing at corners, and we're done, then bounce that out in front of council and see if everybody agrees with you, or if they wanna do it. Is that kind of where you're going, or?
Jody's concerned about people walking in the street, so anecdotally, everyone walks in the street. And not gonna stop it, because sometimes The street is something you can count on. Sidewalks, you can't.
Yeah.
So, we're not gonna stop that. Plus, I don't think I'm here to take care of people. You just make a decision, and, everyone in my neighborhood, I hate to talk about personal anecdotal things, but everyone sort of takes care of it. And there are not, a lot of places that are not sidewalks.
It's pretty clean over there.
And there was a discussion that we also have an elderly population, and how are they going to do it? Although that there was a group that had, said that they would go out, they advertised that they would go out and shovel for you, and they got 0 responses on it.
Well, and a lot of people, I mean, I hate again, but once I get my snow blower started, I could do the whole damn town. I'm so happy. I mean, really.
I know, it's fun.
Yeah, so I go around to the churches, you know, I just don't think it's a big problem, except for maybe short-term rentals, and they need to take care of their problem, but
I could say, speaking from statistics, based on my time here since '07, and I'll just say it, the snow has never played a major role in people getting ran over.
So,
That's just,
Doug, how do you feel about
more people get hit in the summertime.
I think we should just enforce what we have, do not try to create. I mean, when you say, let's take care of the school routes, who's gonna take care of the school routes?
Well, we would ask or require the adjacent property owners to that sidewalk to make sure it's clear for the kids.
And I'm not sure that's gonna be easy to enforce.
Well, my concern is determining where the school routes are to start with. I mean, that's not easy either.
So I get back to, let's just, enforce what's on the books now and do not try to create anything new.
That would be my vote.
And I appreciate your 75 responses, but
Yeah.
in a town of 2,300, is that really a representative response?
Yeah, at least there were people paying attention.
Some people just like to get on there to, because they're.
Well, but they actually had an opinion, and I appreciated
sounds
them.
like it wasn't too bad.
expressing it.
I'm impressed, there's only 2 people.
I was
75.
Not bad.
Yeah, no, not bad at
You're
all.
very brave.
Hey, what can they do to me, right?
So,
Anyway,
let's just move on then.
yeah.
Okay, the trash ordinance. I know that we are talking more about the big dumpsters. Should we require them to have lids at the close of their workday? Or,
I think that's a good idea.
you think that the dumpsters, 'cause there can be lids on them.
Yeah. If contractor has the option and he takes the cheaper out because it doesn't have a lid, I don't think that's acceptable.
'Cause they don't, but they could leave it open during the day
Yeah,
and
they
close
have
it at
to.
night,
They have to
so
work,
that
yeah.
works.
During non-working hours, the lid should be shut.
When non-attended,
Unattended?
I said when non-attended, so like if they're not there for a week, well, it wasn't night, but they're not on site to watch it.
Closed when not attended.
Nobody can predict obviously, big windstorm coming in the middle of the night.
And, of course, but at least if they're closed. And during the day, they need to, pick up if trash flies.
Sure. There's a lot of people do come in, do knock and talks at my office where,
No.
hey, there's trash out in the neighborhood, right, on the golf course, mainly the golf course is where I hear about it a lot. And it goes, blows from, whether it be Diamond C over to the field in between Diamond C subdivision and the Spire subdivision. And then we'll have to track down who the contractor is, try to get a license plate on them, run their name, call them on the phone, well, we're not in Red Lodge right now, well, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I think having that in place,
It gives you a tool.
Yeah,
to say the
absolutely.
least. What about the location of the dumpster? Is it okay in a right-of-way?
Not blocking a public, public right-of-way, like a parking spot, I personally
Sort
wouldn't
of like
see-
the dumpster out here.
Sure, yeah, I wouldn't.
It's blocking a parking spot for the right-of-way.
Where,
Yeah,
yeah, just put it alternatively, if somebody's building a new house
Yeah,
and they're on the lot,
I guess when I said right-of-way, I meant like, obviously, in the middle of the street, that's not okay.
No.
But like a parking spot, if you're courteous about it, it is what it is. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's just.
the quicker it gets done, probably the better for the whole neighborhood,
Right.
yeah.
And do
Just
we
my-
put a time limit on it?
I don't know, I mean,
No,
like,
I'm getting ready to.
How can we?
Yeah, gonna get a dumpster in front of my house, I hope, in the next 2 months, and it's gonna stay there till it's filled. I think that's the policy, you just keep it till it's
Till
filled.
it's time to pick it up?
Yeah.
Until you're done with it?
Yeah, I hope that happens, but you never know.
People are gonna be using it.
What, cage on top, maybe?
What's that? Oh, you got the cage on, okay, with a padlock. There you go.
When we generically talk dumpsters, should we be saying construction dumpsters versus the dumpster behind the grocery store, which we keep secured at all times because it has attractants in it?
It certainly
Versus a
does.
construction site doesn't have attractants. It has debris that could be moved by wind. So when you're talking dumpsters, you need to distinguish between a construction dumpster versus a refuge dumpster behind
Yeah.
a business, because even my business at Moosley Teas, that garbage can doesn't get food scraps in it, but the one next door does. But, so when you're talking dumpsters, you need to distinguish between what they're used for.
Construction and commercial.
Construction versus
Attractants
something that has an attractant.
versus trash or
Yeah, I agree with that too, thank you, Rod.
refuse.
One of the other questions is, does it have to be covered if it's got stuff that's not gonna blow in it? Somebody's unloading a bunch of bricks and they stick it in their dumpster, does it have to have a covered lid on it at night?
I would say yes, 'cause I doubt very much if it's, not only that, but, you know, people come around and put their trash in unattended dumpsters. You know, we've seen that, we saw that at Rotary Park. Not only did they fill the dumpster with old mattresses, but then they left trash next to it where the bears. So I think that an unattended, open dumpster attracts people to
Yeah.
dump their, especially in the summer
Sure, yeah,
for, you know, when,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, RVers are coming through and wanting to dump their stuff.
Yeah, so maybe if it's, obviously just a suggestion, because I'm not part of the ultimate decision-making process, but like specification in the code as it's written, if attractants for wildlife are inside of the dumpster, it shall be closed with a cover. If there is a risk of debris blowing in a windstorm, the dumpster or, you know, shall be covered.
covered.
I don't think that's what it says right now, actually. Our current code says everything is in a bear-proof can, is all what
I
our current
understand.
language
Yeah,
says.
there's actually nothing regarding dumpsters in particular.
I see, but like, to amend that, if that's what you guys are,
Well,
or
that's kind of
like
where we're going.
looking toward, maybe,
Yeah.
just like spelling it out. If you're throwing away beef, let's get a cover on it. If you're throwing away bricks,
I don't even know if a cover would help.
I've seen bears do some pretty creative things to get into dumpsters. but-
And there are different covers too.
Yeah.
I mean, do we refer to a solid cover, or plastic, metal?
I think covered to prevent wildlife removing items from the
Period.
dumpster. Yeah, to prevent, yeah.
They
I
can,
mean, like,
they
I
can decide what kind of cover.
If it streamlines the process, or I don't know, whatever. I mean, like these companies that are renting out these commercial dumpsters, I mean, like, they have the equipment necessary to prevent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they do.
yeah,
The business owner isn't really in charge of what they get.
sure, yeah.
We are subject to what the provider brings.
Huh,
Okay, so we don't specify, you know, the grocery store has metal lids that are reinforced, and they have carabiners, so it resists the bear pushing up on it. A plastic lid would last about 10 minutes as soon as it gets dark, because the bears would rip them completely off.
Yeah,
But we don't specify what we get, we just get what they provide us. So you really need to target this conversation to your garbage provider,
to let them know
probably
there's
more
a,
so than
ordinance
the
or-
actual tenant of the property.
Are you saying-
They're-
Wait a second, wait a
You
second.
don't get a
If you-
choice.
If you're gonna order a dumpster, you don't have a choice of what you get?
No,
Well,
You get a
I don't
choice in
think we
size.
can tell
you get a choice in size, what size do you want? Do you want a half yard, a 1 yard, a 2 yard? But you don't get a choice in the specific container.
so Rod, on occasion, you will get a plastic lid.
No,
Oh.
because they know, the provider knows what they need to provide, but we don't specify that you have to give us a dumpster with a metal lid. That's not in the conversation.
Well, I don't think it's the city's responsibility to tell the people that are providing these how to do their business. I think it's our, we need to tell the users, if you need to tell them, we need one with a lid on it, as opposed to just send anything you got.
Yeah,
We've actually, because we have reached out and talked to them because we had a question, somebody said they don't have them, and we called up, and they basically said the users can say this is what we need or what we want, and I'm sure there's probably different costs associated with those.
Yeah.
But, and we have had conversations with them on the construction dumpsters, but they're telling people, you need one with a lid per the city.
Right, because they're
So,
following the city's instructions.
But when you
not
call
the-
up as a customer, you could ask that too, I need a covered dumpster.
I had to buy my own bear container south of town because they refused to provide it because it wasn't required.
wow.
It wasn't an option. It was, this is what you get.
Well, that's a trash can.
That's a trash
That's
can.
residential trash can.
Regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, why are there bear-proof containers in Red Lodge? Is it because the homeowners said that they wanted bear-proof containers, or was it the city said you will have bear-proof?
Okay, yeah, and I was thinking, we were back to I was thinking the dumpster conversation, but yeah, we in the city do well, if it's an attractant, right now we require bear containers for everything, and that's the problem, is we can't enforce anything because what we have is not practical. I mean, so if somebody has a construction dumpster, we can't tell them it's covered and you're getting a ticket because that's not what our ordinance says.
No, exactly.
So let's not get lost like we usually do. Let's just say we need a cover on it. That's a start.
Okay.
And if problems arise out of that, then we will address it. But at least let's enforce dumpsters must have a cover on it.
Okay, I'll, talk to the city council tonight, let them know what direction we're going, and that we're talking about passing and amending the trash ordinance.
And I think if it's an attractant, it needs to be bear safe. Everything else needs to be covered when unattended.
There you go.
Yes.
That's perfect. Just leave it like that.
The other thing is,
Unattended sounds like there's gotta be somebody there by the, after hours, or, I mean,
Or close,
it's closed, because attended means is there's gonna be someone expected to be attending it.
on site.
Yeah,
So, yeah, whatever. wording-
weekends, after hours,
Standing
whatever,
guard.
but,
standing guard over their
Standing
trash.
guard.
yes,
Yeah.
an attendant.
You have to hire a guard.
Shotgun.
Yeah, rifle security, yeah.
So,
Now we're in the weeds.
I do.
no, but no, the wordage should be,
I think we can come up with another word for it.
I think that we'll pass with the idea and then figure out the
Right.
wording later.
you know, you gotta, people are gonna, you gotta think
Okay, and,
how other people.
There's
think.
loopholes and avenues in probably every single law written.
Yeah.
I could look at state code all day and say, well, what is this? You know,
what about
what if
this?
this happens? What about this gray
That's
area?
it. You're not,
It's the attorney's job to interpret the gray area of the law, where it's our job to enforce the law, right?
as written.
Yeah, as written, we don't
That's all you can
we
do.
don't get into the weeds or gray area, right?
Okay.
And there was a house here in town that had a dumpster delivered to their front yard, and it sat there for 6 months. And I know the neighbors were very annoyed at staring at a dumpster. Well,
You can't pick your.
I don't think that we can do anything about that.
Lucky them.
I get
I'd
annoyed
love
looking
to
at my
dump-
neighbors.
Yeah, you'd like a dumpster there.
Here in just a month or three.
Pardon?
You're gonna have that exact same situation here in a month or three.
Yeah. Okay, I just thought I'd bring that up, is that there was a,
Progress.
Yeah, if we had a nickel for every time a neighbor has called in something that is unsightly, however, it does not violate the law, I'd be doing okay. You're right?
yeah, we
It's just how it goes.
know unsightly.
It's just how it goes. I think a discussion with your neighbor goes a lot further than, right?
I know that Peter Italiano went around and he took a picture of a dumpster that was hanging in a tree.
Probably.
It was like a piñata for a bear.
Oh.
I mean, literally, it really was. And he wanted to do something about that through zoning, and it was like,
Pick your battles.
I mean, the
Right.
bottom line is, how do you fill it? You know, you have to bring it down, fill it, bring it back up, what's the point?
Just a pulley.
Yeah, anyway.
Right.
So I don't think that we're gonna address where the dumpster is. Should we put something in there for the residential dumpsters have to be, accessible during snow? I know that there was a memo sent out, either Danae or Lonnie, asking everybody to
The
make
public
sure
was having trouble getting
to the
there.
dumpster.
And I drove around town, and it's, in the alleys, it's really a problem, but.
It is.
I think it's probably one of those things where that's up to Republic Services and like the person that is putting their trash out, because I know, because I use Republic Services. If my trash can isn't where they asked me for me to put it, they'll just keep going. And
And
then
so,
people will learn the lesson quickly.
the second week, the third week, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
you know, when you're 14, 15 trash bags deep, maybe I should.
Maybe I should maybe carve a path for the.
Yes,
So they can get
that
to
is
it.
a self-correcting problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're not gonna worry
Yeah.
about that. The animal ordinance, we haven't attacked lately, and I think that the only thing that really needs to be in there is the goats. That goats aren't allowed in the city, that was the only thing in that animal ordinance. We talked about feral cat colonies.
Yep.
We talked about, putting something in there about breeders.
Sure. I do have a remedy to the feral cat situation. If it is excessive, again, I went back, I looked at my old case, I know the charge, I know the city ordinance, and I also know the state code. And
Yeah.
last time, I believe, Mayor, I sent you a, screen snip of the charge, a redacted screen snip of the charge. I believe it was state code. Yep, so that's an easy issue. If it's like out of control to where there's deceased cats.
So we probably don't need to put that in the ordinance itself.
No, if I have a state tool available to use, I'm probably gonna use that.
Perfect.
My recollection is you guys were looking at, I remember the previous conversation, you had everything about dog bites and.
Yep.
That it was not just about goats, but.
No, it wasn't.
Educational chicken.
I think we felt that the rest of the ordinance was fine, but it included goats, and that's just something that just needs to be struck because they're not allowed.
Unless they're being employed.
You know, what if they're eating the knapweed out of a field?
I think that that's a temporary type of thing.
Speeding is a temporary kind of thing. I was only speeding at that moment.
Pet goats.
Yeah,
We don't, pet goats aren't allowed.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the email from the judge that said, here's like double sets of codes,
What, I don't remember seeing
There was-
anything from,
it's
Oh, yeah.
been many months, but
maybe I actually have it in here. He did weigh in on that, didn't he?
that was my recollection of the problems you guys were going to solve. Sounds like you're not prepared to have a discussion on it today, but
No, I didn't think we'd get this far. Okay, there's the animals, we talked about hoarding, feeding domestic, wild animals.
what I heard Chief Schrock say is if there's state things that are there, they have state ones they can rely on.
Yeah, there's municipal codes that we will use when there is a state code to support the same type of charge. I.e., if somebody's speeding, right, very simple traffic infraction, I could write them a state violation and then have it go as points on their insurance to where way down the road, they're paying a lot more for that ticket than just a $20 state fine, right?
Yeah,
Or I could charge them a municipal code, which is not reported to their insurance, i.e., you know, it's the same thing, you pay for the charge, however, this is not reported to insurance because it's a municipal infraction. So it just, there's times where we do use municipal infraction, and then there's times where we're more likely to use state code.
I think what I can do is I can direct staff to go through and look at, and again, I would start with the stuff that the judge sent through is what I'm remembering, and and I can have Chief Schrock go through and re-identify, yes, there's a state, yes, there's a state, no, there's not a state, no, there's not a state, and narrow it down from there.
Yeah,
I said, it feels like a spinning the wheels issue if
we're just going around in circles?
well, we set it down and came back to it 8 months later and don't remember the previous
Well,
conversation.
yeah, if you get that list.
Yeah,
send it
I
over
have
to
this-
me. I'll
Yeah,
take
yeah,
them.
I do have the state code here for animals and fowl and all of that. I think we were discussing, I know what the judge was saying, vicious animals versus,
Aggressive.
yes, aggressive,
That's more in line with the conversation I recall.
yes. Nuisance, vicious, I'm looking at state ordinances. Livestock, poisoning, provoking, freeing confined animals, nuisance animal, vicious animal. And I think that's a different, rabid, we won't even talk about that. It's funny how there's one state code, cats are not restricted from running at large unless adjudged to be a nuisance animal by the city court, which would be feral cats.
That's our code, right?
No, this is state code. This is state code. And we talked about limiting the number of animals, and I don't think anybody wants to go there.
In the interest of time, let me take that, what I'll do is I'll have the judge and Chief Schrock talk together and restart this conversation about what the changes are.
Yeah, and I think it's the vicious and the nuisance was the judge's concern.
Vicious and dangerous were the two, correct?
I was just looking at state code.
Gotcha.
Ours might say dangerous.
Yes, yeah,
Ours says dangerous,
okay.
where the state doesn't.
Okay.
They call it nuisance and vicious. And I would imagine that a dangerous dog would be a vicious dog,
Could be, I mean, yeah.
A lawyer's gonna make what he wants out of it.
no matter what we do.
The gray area,
So-
you just said it, yeah.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
why bother?
So just to make sure I understand the direction, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have Chief Schrock and the judge talk. They're going to identify those concerns, they're gonna identify what stuff is better addressed by state code, and then identify any remaining gaps.
That's right,
Yes,
we're just gonna
Mr.
hit the gaps. And I think that's it, you guys. Not gonna go any further.
I don't have my glasses, so I can't see the agenda. Are we
Well, the
done?
only other thing, it was review priorities, projects, timeline, so we're not gonna be concerned with that.
No, we're done, evidently, thank you.
Anything anybody else has
we have
that'd
a
like to
couple-
address?
I just want to ask Greg something about,
Sure.
since I'm sure Twitter pated about code enforcement, ordinance enforcement.
Sure, yeah.
Is there a way the next time we meet, could you, write out what ordinance, what enforcement has happened, which was the ordinances?
With municipal infraction, yeah?
Yeah, just kind of do, instead of maybe 45 being enforced, which ones of those 45 were enforced? That would be-
Oh,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
yep, yeah, where enforcement action was taken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little more specific.
Can you do me a favor, will you write up what you'd like that to be and send that to me so that I can direct
I
staff
will do that when I
accordingly?
get home.
And I
Lovely.
was curious, it did come up in that 75 comments about Broadway not being cleared, and I assured them at the time that the ordinance is being enforced, and that the city is working on it.
It is, and let me, if I may, just add something really quick in there. I got a call from, one of the bigwigs at DOT, this last weekend, and there are people, when the plows come through, right, very frustrating, right? Nobody wants to get their driveway plowed in, nobody wants to get their vehicle plowed in, but it's just the way it goes. You want the streets clear, you might have to do some digging. There are business owners throwing the snow back into the highway, and that is creating a little bit more of a narrow path. He told me about it. I told him, I said, I'm not in the office right now, but I can address it when I get back, or I can send an officer right now. He says, no, just take a look when you get back. So just keep that in mind.
I think
And
the
our code
ordinance
does
reads
say they
3
can't do
feet.
that.
There is a code that's saying that they cannot do that.
It says that they can do 3 feet onto the berm. 3 feet, so from the corner, 3 feet out.
Yep.
Rod?
So I guess the question, having shoveled snow on Main Street since 1979.
Where do you put it?
On the corner.
city ordinance says the sidewalk must be cleared, and the state says the road must be cleared, so where does the snow go? From a standpoint of the guy putting the snow somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, where do I put it? Because I get in trouble if I leave it on the sidewalk, and I get in trouble if I put it in the street.
Yeah.
And I don't have a dump truck to haul it away.
Yeah, and
That's
our
a fair
snow
point.
ordinance says that you can put it up to 3 feet on the berm in the
Like,
street.
now define the berm.
That, it's just,
Where the snow is.
Where the state,
Where the
leaves
state
their
creates-
snow,
the state creates a berm.
but their goal is to put that berm on the sidewalk.
That's their goal, is to
That's
put
their
it on
goal,
the
is to put it
sidewalk?
on the sidewalk, and our goal is to put it,
Yeah, I've
in the
never
street.
seen them get that close to the sidewalk ever.
you haven't shoveled a lot of snow downtown like I have.
I've shoveled it for 20 years in front of
Yeah,
Montana
But-
Realty, and
but
we
they,
try to cut a
it's
hole
usually-
in the berm. Just finding
Yeah.
the curve is a project.
yeah.
Once
It-
you find the
It's
curve.
generally two feet onto the sidewalk. If you didn't push it back, it would be 2 feet onto the sidewalk minimum.
Yeah, it would start
But
gaining,
We
the
get out
sidewalk
there-
would get
We
narrow.
get out there as soon as it snows, we're out there pushing it back onto the berm.
Yep.
Which is the gutter.
I think what the gentleman saw when he called me was that somebody, like, pointed their snow blower,
In the
blow off,
middle.
right in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
that's
not,
an issue.
and I
Yeah,
didn't mean to
that's
get anybody
different.
ruffled, I'm just relaying what I was
No,
doing.
every time I see somebody with a snow blower,
Like, bring it
it's
down.
like, how much damage, one, you're either gonna take out a window or you're gonna take the paint off the car.
Yeah,
Because it's surprising how many people don't pay attention to where their snow's going, other than it's not going here, going.
I was
You know,
quite impressed that the fishing shop had cleared their sidewalk. So, where's the other issue? Isn't it down by the eye doctor?
I can tell you that last week I went down and walked and took pictures and reached out and spoke with all but 2 of the landowners because they were not available and not reachable, and Chief Schrock was included on those follow-ups, as was Public Works, so. The 2 that I did not succeed at were the salon, so that tells me it was Monday that I did it, because they were not there. And then the one that's a residential, the old Meats was last time, 5th Street.
The old
Meats
meat
or whatever.
market.
Oh, yeah, right.
So, other than that, I spoke with directly, just had a nice little conversation with them, so.
Good, good.
Yeah, with that done.
That's
and
the old
Chief Schrock and I
scoop?
have talked about what's gonna happen is, we're documenting, as we discussed in council, we're documenting our first encounter, and then after that, they get cited, and
After
then
that,
we have the ability to go in and solve it, so.
we haven't had to do that yet,
I haven't done that yet.
but you could.
We could in those situations, but those situations have been addressed that we've talked to, so.
I was gonna say,
Well, nothing like a nice friendly visit with the mayor. I think that's nice.
It was friendly, there was none of them that were antagonistic.
Mm-hmm.
They were all good, no, I don't know why my guy's not down there doing it, or something, so.
Yeah,
okay,
always
yeah,
nice to have that.
all right. Well, I'm going to
So a
adjourn the
different
meeting. If there's nothing else,
Dean. No, thank
and
you.
the meeting's officially adjourned, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.